Hello and welcome on into the June episode of Strategy Game News. Whilst this is a shorter episode than it has been most of the time, I think that actually says more about how much has come out in the previous months compared to this one. We also just found out this morning that Bannerlord War Sales has been delayed until fall in the Northern Hemisphere, spring in the Southern Hemisphere, so there is a bit of a gap where I did have a little segment on War Sales. That's no longer there. We'll revisit it when the time is right. That being said, there are some very cool games dropping this month, either through a new demo or going into early access, so don't you worry, I have some very cool games to numb the pain. And before I get stuck in, you may notice that I have a new shirt. It's a very cool shirt, and it was sent to me by Into the AM. I just want to say a massive thank you to them for sending me this. It's very cool and soft and comfy, and the designs are just a little bit too awesome. There is no generative AI in these designs. They are all human art, which is, you know, a personal favorite of mine. They also sent me a discount code along with my shirt, so if you'd like to get yourself a cool astronaut coming out of a lake, you can use code ReneeSky for 10% off at checkout. You guys would know that I don't take many product partnerships. The reason for that is that I'm really lazy, and it has to be a really cool offer to grab my attention. It's a really cool shirt. I genuinely love it from the bottom of my heart, and I'm also super appreciative that they wanted to work with me despite there being an ocean between us. So I'm a very appreciative little Aussie today. Jump over to Into the AM, I've got a link down in the description below, and peruse some of their really cool shirts. You might even find one that glows in the dark. Now, games. I think you'll like what I've got up first. Moonsigil Atlas from Snake Tower Games got its first demo on the 15th of May. This fantasy roguelike deck builder differs from others in its use of physical space on the game board, rather than using action points or card synergies. You will need to rotate and place your cards while designing a deck that fits together for the ultimate overpowered play. With intriguing fantasy design, Moonsigil Atlas sees the player in charge of the moon's defense against varied enemies as you move along the path of stars, with checkpoints and combat as you go. You'll need to utilize your cards to shield against incoming attacks, damage the enemy, and buff other cards. You'll be able to customize your deck through the usage of runes, which have different effects depending on their type. There are currently 2 characters called Sigil Rights available in the demo who offer completely different decks in terms of shapes and design. Feldrin the Lost Chronicler focuses on drawing cards and multiplying damage, whilst Aladara makes devastating glass cards and forges runes to line the battlefield with traps and delayed damage. We can see the outline of a 3rd Sigil Right who burns tiles and harvests the ashes, but they are not yet available in this demo. With already over 100 cards to play and a major boss to face, Moonsigil Atlas rewards the curious player with an enormous number of potential bonuses and combos through the use of buffed cards, persistent effects, and stackable runes. We're going to see some extremely varied builds from players when this game releases. The art style and soundtrack are also really good. I love the animation for placing shapes and activating their effects. The sound design as well suits the style of the game. I feel like there's a lot of narrative here with potentially some really interesting world building, and I'm curious to find out more about it as the game moves through development. This was a really charming find, and a massive thank you to Snake Tower Games for making me aware of this one. Moonsigil Atlas will be their first game, and from what I can see, it's one heck of a strong start. The demo is still up and running, and I highly recommend jumping over to Steam to check it out and wishlist the game. Lovecraftian horror city builder Worshippers of Cthulhu released into 1.0 on May 23rd from Crazy Goat Games and Crytevo. In Worshippers, you'll build cities for the followers of Cthulhu and manage the day-to-day running of their needs and wants to grow the following for the Eldritch God. You'll need to expand and assimilate other cities in your service to the god, turning them to fellow cultists or fodder for the offerings. By exploring and discovering the supernatural world around you, you'll unlock research and rituals to empower your city of devotees. Can you awaken the ancient god and survive what follows? With a very positive review score on Steam, Worshippers seems to be very well received so far, with a published roadmap of updates and content to come. Nine Kings released into early access on May 23rd to enormous success, with over 125,000 release weekend sales, 11,000 concurrent users, and a very positive review score on Steam. This fast-paced roguelike deck builder shot up the lists and is currently number 22 on the current global top sellers list, just behind Marvel Rivals and Repo. With a number of player builds emerging as challenges and overpowered combinations, it's no wonder that the game made to be broken is instead breaking records. The alternate historical medieval shooter sim, now there's a genre line, Kingmakers got its early access release date on May 27. Devs Redemption Road and publisher tinyBuild dropped the release date trailer as part of the tinyBuild Connect showcase, with some brand new footage that shows, while the release date is a little farther away than we thought, a lot of development has been going on behind the scenes. In Kingmakers, the player returns to medieval times in an attempt to change history. The kicker? You brought back the weaponry of the 21st century with you. You'll need to build your kingdom, defend your allies, and destroy enemy strongholds. How does plate armor fare against grenades? Could a tank one-shot a castle? You'll be able to find out the answers to these questions and more as you take command of your armies and fight alongside them. Kingmakers is also co-op, so you'll be able to get your buddies in to split cavalry like bowling pins along with you. It releases into early access on October 8th, 2025, so we'll take another look when we get a bit closer. Beginning our June releases is Seekers of Eclipse, the deck builder with roguelike and city building elements. By constructing buildings, collecting resources, and making offerings to the gods so that they'll destroy the enemy base before it destroys you, the player will move through the Dark Lands to reach the eclipse before time runs out. Your currency is measured in days, which refill or deplete depending on how well you do on each map. You can also upgrade cards, collect artifacts, and purchase starting resources using gold earned by doing well on each level. For me, the big selling point of this one is the art style. We've got some real Weird West, Sworn art vibes in here, and you all know I'm a sucker for lighting, so seeing the shadows actually move around the trees according to where my mouse was placed was pretty exciting to see. The resource collection was an interesting mechanic as well, and is definitely different from how a lot of city builders will gather them. Because the game is turn-based, you can see future projections of how many resources you'll gather, and how much energy, the main resource in the game used to smite enemies, they will produce. This allows for some forward planning in your build, and plays into the strategy element quite well. I can see the levels getting trickier and requiring quite a bit of strategic finesse as the gameplay progresses. Overall, it was a surprisingly enjoyable find during research, and I'm recommending jumping over to Steam to download the demo and try it out for yourself. Seekers of Eclipse releases on June 2nd. Rise of Industry 2 is releasing on June 4th. This 1980s management sim sees the player take charge of various complexes, manage production lines, and compete in the bustling markets of the 1980s. Along with the classic management sim strong points such as employee hiring, facility design, and research, you'll also need to maintain a strong network of peers amongst other CEOs and keep them happy with you and your endeavors. Local government also may take an interest in your business and will expect you to give back to the town from which you hire and operate within. You'll get to pick and choose which industry you specialize in, and yes, you can choose to specialize in all of them. Rise of Industry 2 will also feature scenarios for the player to work through, as well as a sandbox to play in and create the sprawling enterprise of your dreams. With a tongue-in-cheek approach to the rampant capitalism and corporate empires of the 80s, Rise of Industry 2 puts forth a bright, cheerful art style with a dollop of satire and optimism. Releasing on June 4, make sure to hop over to Steam and check out the page for yourself. Endemic Creations, the studio behind Plague Inc., will release their third game, After Inc. Revival, into EA on June 17. This post-apocalyptic survival city builder serves as a follow-on from the incredibly popular Plague Inc. The player will be tasked with rebuilding the world after the zombie apocalypse with a mix of city building and 4X mechanics. Build, upgrade, and manage your settlements as you attempt to rebuild civilization and restructure society in this new world. With a heavy lean on narrative drive, After will embroil the player in mysteries and drama as humanity returns to the surface and attempts to rebuild what has been lost. A demo is currently in the works, and fingers crossed it drops before the EA release and we get some eyes on the current build. The long-awaited military RTS from Still Balalaika and Slytherin Ltd, Broken Arrow, will be releasing on June 19th. Broken Arrow is a deck builder RTS in the vein of games such as the Wargame series or the popular Warno, all of which have their player build a deck of personally selected units to take into battle and command. One of Broken Arrow's biggest selling points, however, is in its deck composition. Whereas other titles in this space have you choose a single battle group that provides a selection of units for you to trim down to your intended force, Broken Arrow chooses to mix things up, providing you with 5 options that will make up 2 halves of the same battle group, allowing players to combine combined fighting forces specialized in different roles such as airborne, marine, armor, or special forces. These two halves of the same battle group then offer the more traditional unit selection, using a points pool to ensure balance that players of these games will be used to. Broken Arrow offers 300 units with multiple combinations of equipment on many of them, making for 1,500 potential combinations to take to the battlefield. The game is set in a fictional contemporary conflict between the United States and Russia, who provide the two sides, each of which has 5 options to pair up and form your unique battle group, offering players the opportunity to use more modern equipment than they might be used to in other games that focus on a more Cold War turned hot scenario or World War II. Broken Arrow encourages players to cooperate with smaller objectives to capture than other games in its genre, and a generous points refunding system that means lost units can be redeployed to the battlefield so you won't lose your best units at the start of a game and be left without them for the remainder. Players will be able to work together, specializing their role and their battle groups to work in synergy with each other, with a lot of potential for friends to become a well-oiled military machine against other players or the AI in scenarios. A powerful scenario editor will be included to allow players to create custom scenarios, which the developers say is the same editor they use to create the campaign missions in the game, and will be accessible without ever writing a single line of code, according to the game's Steam page. Broken Arrow releases on June 19th, with pre-orders now open on Steam, granting early access on June 16th. And rounding out this month real quick is the flagship release of Hooded Horse's first ever foray into consoles. Against the Storm will release on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch on June 26. This rain-punk fantasy roguelike has sold over 1.5 million copies on PC and holds an overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam. Console gamers are in for a treat as they delve into the storm-ravaged wilds at the behest of the Scorched Queen and embark upon bite-sized missions to complete objectives and return crucial resources to the capital. Make sure to check it out on your console platform of choice when it drops on the 26th. So those are the games coming out in June. I think we've got a nice little coverage there of games to look forward to over a range of genres. That being said, I did mention in a post on YouTube a little while ago that I feel like 2025 is the year of the roguelike deck builder. I know that for a lot of people, these are a favored genre. I would love to see a little more variety in terms of games that are coming out. I feel like city builders are being left a little bit behind. I know we've just had Tempest Rising come out, but an RTS always goes down really well. So hopefully we start seeing a little bit more of a mix in the games that are announced over the next couple of months. Having said that, the game I'm looking forward to most as it goes through development from this crop has to be Moonsigil Atlas. There's something about the design of it that is so gorgeous. The shapes and the mechanics are so much fun to play with. It is a really tough roguelike. I think there's going to be quite a bit of a difficulty aspect to getting through these levels. I love the star map that leads us across. They look like constellations to me. The enemies look like constellations to me. I think I'm just really excited for like a lunar fantasy-based game. It's also just visually stunning as well, like so much work you can tell has gone into how this game looks in terms of artwork and feel and sound design and soundtrack. I cannot believe that this is Snake Tower Games' first game. This is so impressive. I'm really looking forward to this game coming out in full. We love a good deck builder with some good mechanics. What I love is a good deck builder with good mechanics, with fantastic story writing and world building and lore. And I think that's what we're aiming towards with Moonsigil Atlas. I can feel it kind of below the surface. The writing is brilliant. Whoever's done the writing on the character descriptions, the sigil rights descriptions, and the cards, fantastic, brilliant, very intriguing. Otherwise, I know a lot of you are looking forward to Broken Arrow this month. That's also incredibly overwhelmingly complicated, but also looks like a lot of fun for those of you who love military RTS games. I've put a link to every game mentioned in this episode down in the description below, so make sure to jump over to Steam and do some further research if one of them caught your eye. And also don't forget to jump over to Into the AM and check out their awesome range of shirts. Discount code ReneeSky for 10% off at checkout. As always, if you think I missed a game or you're a developer and you would like to see your game on the channel, do feel free to email me at reneeskyplays@gmail.com. Otherwise, feel free to leave me a comment down below and let me know what game you're going to be researching and maybe diving into the demo of. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next month. Happy conquering, and bye. Is it devotees or devotees? I'm gonna leave devotees, that sounds cool. Of devotees. Alrighty, so that is the... Missed a word in my script. Why am I scrolling? I haven't written a script. That was so cringe. That being said, do I want to complain? Do I want to complain? Why is this so hard today? Oh, my biscuits. You'll also need to maintain a strong network.